Hello, friends. Good morning. Today, I wanted to talk about something I think a lot of us can relate to these days, which is frugal living. I've had the pleasure of chatting with a lot of new friends recently, and I feel like something that is weighing on so many people these days is the price of everything. So, grab a cup of tea or coffee and let's chat about how we can live simply and frugally in today's world. First, I'm starting off making the kids breakfast before we sit down and do some school for the day. Most days, my younger boys will eat more than one breakfast. Like many kids, they like the sugary cereals and pastries and often ask for that first thing in the morning. Over the years, I've started suggesting that they can have one of those things for breakfast if they also eat something healthier and more filling with it. My youngest, Theo, has a major sweet tooth and will forego any meal and just snack. So I try to rein him in and teach him balance. He's only 5, but he's starting to understand that pastries and cereal aren't going to keep him full, so he will ask for eggs or fruit, and most often he asks for oatmeal. So I'm making scrambled eggs with sausage in them to go along with their oatmeal and cereal. Most mornings I'll also boil a couple of eggs for something quick for myself or the kids. My daughter has never been a morning person, so she often waits to eat for a while after she gets up and usually will grab a hard-boiled egg once she's hungry. If we have any leftover hard-boiled eggs in the evenings, I will usually chop them up for a salad with dinner, or I'll make a plate of deviled eggs and serve them with dinner. One thing I would really like to do on my channel is share with you my low-cost family meals. I think so many people could benefit from good homemade meals, and they don't have to cost you so much. As a large family who homeschools, we eat almost all of our meals at home, which means our groceries are a huge portion of money each month. This is something I constantly try to work on. Grocery prices aren't going to go down, so I'm always trying to find ways to make things stretch and to save wherever I can. The meals I often try to make are ones that will stretch. One of my favorites is chili. It's so cheap to make, and you can do a lot of things with a big pot of chili. The first night when I make chili, we usually just eat it with cornbread or over some noodles. I then will use the leftovers to make a large batch of breakfast tacos. I'd like to say that I freeze them for later, but between my kids eating them and my husband bringing them to work, I usually don't get that far. But you could serve chili over mac and cheese, or you could do chili dogs. One of my favorites sounds kind of weird, but I like serving chili over a garden salad. I don't know if you remember the salads from Wendy's from like the early 2000s, but they had a salad that is similar to like a taco salad where you pour the chili over top of it. They discontinued it years ago, but it's something I continue to make, and my entire family enjoys it, even Theo. Having a large family and living frugally is something that we have had to get quite used to. I think so many times people get caught up in social media and try to keep up with the Joneses, and I just want to be that safe space where you don't feel like you have to be any kind of way. I wanted to take this moment and ask if you haven't already subscribed and liked this video, that you please do so. I hope to inspire and encourage you to live life more simply, and I'd like nothing more than to have a community that gathers and supports one another. So I would like to ask that you help me grow this channel, and that way we can reach anyone that is needing that support or encouragement, or that is in need of helpful hints to live more simply and on a budget. I did also want to take a moment and thank everyone that has already done so. I appreciate you so much for supporting me through this season of life that I'm in, and I'm so grateful for every one of you. I truly believe having that community to share with is so important. I've learned so much from the YouTube community already, and it's not always easy to talk to friends and family about cutting back or needing to live more frugally. I have plenty of friends that can really use a helping hand or that are struggling right now financially, and can use some tips to make things stretch. So I'm hopeful this space finds the right people that can use some extra encouragement and support. Most often, I will try to use what I have on hand first before buying something. I have an older apron, but it's black and it always looks dirty when I'm baking, so I wanted to make myself a new apron for the kitchen. I used to run a sewing shop years ago, so I have a ton of fabric left over from that. I really need to declutter it, but for whatever reason, I still hang on to some of it, which is useful for situations like this. So I pulled out some of my fabric from storage and I started working on a new apron. The dark green fabric may look familiar. It's the same fabric I use to do curtains around my house, specifically the ones in the living room and my oldest son's room. I've managed to misplace some of my tools for cutting, so I ended up having to use a normal ruler to measure. It wasn't as quick, but I got the job done. I never mentioned to my husband that I was sewing, so when he got home, he asked if I had bought a new apron. It put a smile on my face. And when I came out of the office with my apron, Theo shouted with joy, "You look like a baker, Mom!" He is my number one cheerleader. It's simple, but I'm happy with how it turned out, and it didn't end up costing anything because I had everything on hand already. As a homemaker, days can feel kind of ordinary and mundane, repetitive, but I think one thing that is easy to lose sight of is the beauty in that slow-paced life. Before we moved here from Chicago, it seemed like every day was so filled with chaos and it was hard to slow down and enjoy the little things. We were always running to and from, and a big part of that can weigh on you financially too. When we decided to make the move down here, we promised ourselves we would slow down and enjoy one another more and take the time to appreciate all the little things. I think as the seasons are changing, I'm reminded more and more of that. Fall always reminds me to slow down and enjoy the beauty, to live more in the moment and enjoy the smaller things that are right there in that moment. Lincoln had came up while I was sewing to show me a fossil he found in the yard. He was so excited about it, how it was a fossil from a seashell, and it was really cool. The boys are sitting down having an afternoon snack. They wanted a slice of the cinnamon cake I had made the day before. And then we got an Amazon package delivered, so they were excited to see what was in there. They seem to act like they don't know I'm the one buying the stuff from Amazon. So it's always kind of funny because they're like, "Oh, what do you think's in it, Mom?" But I don't know, I kind of go along with it sometimes just because I think it's so funny. It all seems like it's not anything really that special, but I was really excited to get this package in. It was some Halloween stuff that I have been wanting for years to decorate with, so I went ahead and ordered it, and then part of my daughter's Halloween costume was in here too. And I was kind of thankful that I was filming this because one of the parts ends up shooting out, and thankfully no one was there. Lincoln was near me, but he wasn't in the path where the item shot out to. But it was kind of funny to have the camera recording and we could go back and then see what had happened. Oh, and I forgot that I had also gotten my drawer pulls for the kitchen island we just redid. So those are what I'm showing you there. My husband likes the original ones that came with it when we got it, but I like these, so we might end up switching them out. Oh! Oh my god!
What was that?
That was wild. Yep. Theo, you missed it.
Ew, this thing just shot out. These hats
My younger two boys both like dressing up. They're always in Halloween costumes. We have a tub downstairs that we keep, and they go through year round. So I knew that they would love these hats, but they are for decoration, and I think they're going to really, really like that. But I knew that they would like this too. A cold day is a perfect day to have a big pot of soup or stew. Now that it's October, I have been making soup quite often. Soup is one thing I love because it makes so much and it generally freezes pretty well. The soup I'm making here, we call Hamburger Soup in my family. Usually, when I say that, people assume it's like a cheeseburger soup, but it's not. It's ground beef that's cooked with vegetables and then simmered in broth. I used a beef broth, but you could use vegetable broth, chicken broth, it really doesn't matter. And also the vegetables doesn't even matter. You can really do whatever you want. I always have celery, carrots, onions on hand, but you can do all kinds of things, especially if your garden is still producing for the year. It's another thing I love about this soup. It's so versatile. I started making this soup last fall. I usually always have the ingredients on hand, and even though the dish is so simple, my family still really enjoys it. That's the thing about great food. It doesn't have to have a ton of ingredients or be anything extraordinary. It can be simple and still be very good. Soup is a great meal to make if you're trying to make a meal stretch. It's great for leftovers, and it usually can be frozen for later too. I also made a loaf of bread. If you've seen my other videos, I make this bread often. It comes together easy and can be baked a couple hours after you put it together. My family loves it with a smear of jam or plain to dip in their soup. If we have any leftovers, I usually cube it up and I make croutons for salads with it. You can also crumble it and freeze it for breadcrumbs for meatballs or meatloaf too. Now that it is starting to cool down in the evenings, my husband has started doing fires in the fireplace to heat the house. We also use it to cook with during the winter months, so stay tuned if you would like to see more of that. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll see you next time. Bye.